And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our Ag Director Bridgette Readel, and we are looking at a pretty decent day out there. Temperatures in the 40s across much of the area, under partly cloudy skies, some high clouds in the area. But other than that, for this time of the year, for March 12th, this isn't bad weather out there. We'll take it. In fact, it gets better before it gets worse as we head into the weekend. The weekend doesn't look the best, but you know what? The way I look at it, we need the moisture, and however we get it, rain or snow. I know we don't want snow. We'd like, just to launch into spring, but there is snow in the forecast, Bridgette. I hope you're not traveling anywhere over the weekend.
If I am and it's snowing, you'll know right where I'm at.
Exactly, right?
You're just fine.
Yeah, it's there is a storm system coming our way, and the last time this cycled through on the LRC, or I should say in the first cycle of the LRC, this brought us about 3 to 4 inches of snow. Now, this time around, the snowfall totals look very similar to what it was in cycle 1, but this time around, we are going to have a lot more wind with it. So if you have any travel plans on Saturday, you'll want to keep up to date on the forecast. We'll continue to kind of fine-tune it as we head into tomorrow. The storm system just coming on shore right now, so we'll start to get better weather data ingested into our models as it comes on shore, and that should give us a little better exact track of the storm and where the heavier snow will fall. But right now, we're looking at temperatures, as I said, in the 40s out there, and pretty decent afternoon with light winds. We'll top out close to 50 today, and then tonight we'll drop off into the upper 20s. Tomorrow, we're looking at breezy conditions, but warmer, with highs right around 60, and then we're in the low to mid 60s on Friday. Looking really nice on Friday, except we'll have quite a bit of cloud cover around. But it'll feel like spring as we'll start to get more moisture pulled into the area. And as we do, we'll see scattered showers, and we can't even rule out an embedded thunderstorm. Might hear a clap of thunder or two on Friday evening. Most of the day looks dry. And then Friday night, we'll see that rain transition over to snow. And some of that snow is expected to be heavy, especially just east of the valley into Lakes Country as we head into your Saturday. Now, how will this impact the valley? It looks like the valley is going to be right on the western edge of the snow. So you go, let's say 30, 40 miles west of the valley, and there's probably not going to be a whole lot of snow at all. But you go into Lakes Country, and a good example, so our European model, but just in Otter Tail County, goes from 2 inches to 9 inches. So that's a big spread in snowfall totals over a short distance. So just a slight shift in the track of this storm by just 50 miles could put the valley either in the heavier snow or really almost completely missing us to the east. So again, we'll wait and see. Right now, if we had to put snowfall totals on it, I'd say throughout the valley and east into Lakes Country, probably about 2 to 5 inches of snow, and there will be pockets of a little heavier expected, it looks like, in Lakes Country. But it's not so much the snowfall totals, it's the wind that's going to come along with it. We're expecting winds on Saturday between 35 and 50 miles an hour. So even if we only got a couple inches of snow, travel is going to be very difficult for the first half of the day on Saturday. Saturday night, it will start to improve, but the first half of the day on Saturday looking pretty rough around the valley and east into Lakes Country.
So what we're saying is it's Snowmageddon. Everybody plan ahead for that. This is what we're facing.
No, don't. I mean, some areas could receive blizzard conditions for a brief period of time, but if you're traveling west, let's say out towards Bismarck, I think you're going to be fine. But if you're traveling east into Minnesota at all, especially Lakes Country, our models are they're trying to target Lakes Country for the heaviest amounts of snow. So it is going to be tough going east of the valley.
Well, all right. So speaking of snow, I have some snow stats. Let's see if you get these right, Mr. Meteorologist.
All right.
How many different types of snowflakes exist? What's the number?
Oh, I remember this on one of my college exams. Is there a specific number you're looking for? Because there's
not even a range. I was given this comes out of I believe I got this out of Farm Journal, and with their meteorologist, it's a specific number. So I'm looking to compare with you. Oh, stop Googling it. I can see you from here. For God's sake.
Addison, you're
Everybody
supposed
else who's watching too.
Addison's supposed to be in my ear here and let me, hey, come on, man. Help a brother out.
Oh,
I'm going to say
no.
a billion.
Okay.
We're going to go
Well,
with
I'm sure
100.
this has to do with, doesn't this have to do with the shapes perhaps? Or I don't know exactly what it is. So here's your homework, Dean.
Okay.
The answer I have is 35 types of snowflakes.
Really?
So,
Okay, see, now
yeah,
I do remember that from college, but I don't remember it being 35.
okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, I'm looking to you to confirm or deny. So this is your homework.
Okay.
Then I thought this was great. 75% of the water supply in the western United States comes from snowmelt.
It does. Out of the Rockies. Yep.
That I believe out of the Rockies.
Yep.
And then 13 inches of snow will equal 1 inch on average of rainfall.
Yeah, typically
Is that
snow,
about right?
it usually falls, and it depends how cold it is. The colder, normally you use a 10-to-1 ratio. So, but
Sure.
it could be 20 to 1, it could be 30 to 1, depending on how dense the cold air, how cold it actually is. But usually with temperatures right around the freezing mark, it's usually about 10-to-1 ratio.
Okay. Well, before you all get snowed in for the weekend or worried about it being cold, there's one more chance to get out, and that will be tomorrow night, March 13th, in Grand Forks. Common Ground. Common Ground is a volunteer farmer organization that helps talk about what happens in farming to consumers, especially when they're buying food. Common Ground is hosting the movie From the Heartland, which features a guest we recently had, from a farm family in Laverne, Minnesota. And they're going to talk about their farming practices, incorporating livestock, strip tillage, and so much more. And you can go to see that movie again. That's hosted by Common Ground. It is free, including the popcorn, etc. And that will be at the Empire Arts Theater in Grand Forks tomorrow night on the 13th. If you are curious what Common Ground is and what is going on in the movie, well, we got to interview one of the movie folks, and that was Becky Fikema from
Mhm.
Fikema Farms in Laverne, Minnesota. She was on with us last week. And you can go look at our website, Facebook page, WDAY, Weather and Ag in Focus on Facebook or on YouTube. And then you can also find us on our WDAY webpage. And you can go back and see that interview with Becky and also with Heidi Haugo of Common Ground. So you kind of pick up the background on all that. And while you're snowed in this weekend, or even if you're not, it's cold outside. Don't forget, we are giving away a Farmer's Prayer quilt. And this is sponsored by Triple E Incorporated out of Page, North Dakota. What we're looking for is for you to go to our website at WDAY, and you can create a nomination. There's a button there that says National Ag Week, and you can nominate a deserving farmer to win the 5x7 handmade quilt featuring a farmer's prayer. And we're going to draw for that quilt next Friday. That will be on March 21st here on our show, Weather and Ag in Focus. So don't forget to get those nominations in. I'm ready to accept them. I'm going to hold them all until we get to the show next week, and then we're going to make sure to give that away. Looking forward to it.
Cool. All right, I'm going to test you on something, Bridgette, okay?
Okay, what do you got?
True or false? All snowflakes are exactly the same.
Oh, that's false. They're very different.
Yes.
I mean, they're made of moisture, but their shapes are different.
Yeah, and there's no two snowflakes that are exactly alike. Every snowflake is different. They all have the same sides.
Okay, you have to remind me. I think I did this as a news story, not a focus on the field. The way that was discovered was there was a Vermont dairy farmer who loved science. I have to go back and look. I bet I got those notes. And he had a microscope, and he would keep it in an unheated shed. And in between caring for livestock, this was like around 1800. It was long ago. He would look at those through the microscope and document them. And he got good enough as time went on. He learned how to take photography, and he has about 90 different original images with the Smithsonian.
Wow.
What is that guy's name? But yeah, he was a dairy farmer who did it.
Interesting. And I shouldn't say, I misspoke. I said they all have the same amount of sides. They typically have 6 sides, but you've got they're in a hexagonal
Sure.
shape. That's how water freezes. But Yeah, it was a no two snowflakes are alike. It's pretty. And if you've seen snowflakes close up, and it's
Oh
like
yeah.
under a microscope. Just the structure of them is it's amazing. It's pretty cool.
Well, if I've seen them close up, it was probably because somebody hit me with a snowball.
Yeah.
But hey, that's a whole different story. Things do happen.
Yes.
So keep that in mind as well. And when you have these things in mind, especially if you have questions, you can reach us on the JLA Insurance phone line. Family founded, farmer focused. You can call Nate Thorsrud with JLA Insurance, and he sponsors our phone line of 701-293-9000. Not to be confused with Nate's phone line. His is 701-371-0311. We are going to have a chance to visit today with a friend I made through social media. His name is Curt Yeater. He is a retired executive from John Deere. He was a logistics and hazardous material manager. So there's hazardous material at John Deere. Well, I
Right.
bet there is at most corporations. So we're going to talk with Curt about some of the things that happened in his career at John Deere, but also kind of an interesting story how he and I met. So we'll talk about that and how it relates to farm equipment when we return. Welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus, where we want to make sure you know what's going on agriculturally all over the region. One of those things is Peterson Farm Seed is kicking off their agronomy series. They've had a number of meetings going to communities around the Dakotas and Minnesota for the month of March. These are workshops designed for farmers who appreciate their agronomic insight as strong as their Norwegian coffee. If you would like to catch one of these, the next one is Friday in Crookston, Minnesota at 9 a.m. You can also join them On March 18th, which is next Tuesday, National Ag Day, that'll be in Minto, North Dakota at 10 a.m., and then followed by Wahpeton, North Dakota at 6 p.m. So if you're interested in doing any of those, please feel free to let me know. I can send you details. You can reach me ag@flagfamily.com. So, as I said earlier, I have a guest today who I mostly know through social media. Curt and I have traded barbs back and forth, you might say, on Twitter. But what really got us talking was this photo. And if you're following our live stream, again, those are on Facebook and YouTube under WDAY 970 AM, Weather and Ag in Focus. Or if you're following on Acres TV, I took this picture, and it is of a John Deere cotton harvester. And I posted it on Twitter because it's in Fargo, covered in snow, where we don't raise cotton. And that got Curt's attention. So, Curt Yeater, how are you today?
We're great. We're fantastic.
Glad to
I
hear
didn't
it.
know I was going to learn something. I didn't know I was going to learn something, with all these different snowflakes and things. So
Uh-huh.
we definitely need the snow here in northern Illinois. So I think we're going to get rain from what you guys are going to be getting. So
Actually,
now we know where it's coming from.
you guys might have quite a bit of you might have a little severe weather outbreak as far north as Rockford. So
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well,
but going back to the cotton picker, God only knows how that got there. It brought back some really good memories.
well, and that's where our conversation started, Curt, was, okay, why is a cotton picker in Fargo? And you said, oh, that's not the only thing that has to move around. So could you kind of explain what you did before you retired from John Deere?
Right. Yep. Yep. I will say that no, I am not an executive. I tried
Oh,
for 28 years to be that executive, but I did hit the managerial status, but not at the high level, which is okay. So my responsibilities was at our harvesting factory in East Moline, Illinois, John Deere Harvester Works, where we managed inbound material from all our supply base and also managed our hazardous material and dangerous goods, which when you think about it, it goes to right at a battery is hazardous material. So we have them at home,
cool.
we have them at work. I bet you all didn't know that when you go to throw away that battery, you need to tape the end of it where you have the post so it doesn't create that possible spark or ignite, something that could create that battery to go off. So when you throw away a battery, as I was learning my job, all of a sudden, my wife says, "Why are you taping the ends of the battery?" It's like, well, we're preventing one chance to ignite, a spark or of any kind or whatever. So, yeah, that's we when we talk about hazardous material, when you talk about a harvesting machine, we have approximately 15,000 parts on our harvesting machine, and we have as the machines evolve, you're going to get more sensors, you're going to get possibly more battery life because we're going to get away from the fuels, and we might have to go to batteries. So yeah, it was never a dull moment in the world of logistics at Harvester.
I have no doubt. But when you started in at John Deere, were you automatically
Mhm.
at Harvester Works, or what was your movement around within
Right.
the company in different areas?
Yep. I was a full-time college student at St. Ambrose University in Davenport, Iowa, and I got on at John Deere Healthcare, which, as that has evolved, is now was purchased by United Healthcare. But I started out as a part-time John Deere employee and a full-time St. Ambrose University college student. So my operations responsibilities then was customer service, where we would take all incoming calls to John Deere Healthcare, and usually you could average anywhere from 45 to 100 calls an hour. And even still to this day, I don't answer the phone at home. So yeah, it and then as that evolved, my degrees were in economics and finance, and ended up with my MBA in finance, and ended up in logistics at John Deere for 28 years. So, which was a great thing. Got to meet many customers from all over North America and abroad, and had the responsibility to make sure that all the parts that came from wherever and from whomever got to us on time, so that our machines could get to our final end user, our customers, in a timely manner. So.
Okay, so I've got some questions just based on what you mentioned there, Curt. Let's start with this. One of the first things I heard you say was 15,000 parts on a harvester. Are you talking about
Mhm.
a combine or a cotton harvester? Because there's a difference between the two. And my little factoids tell me that the cotton harvester has more moving parts than a regular combine. Am I right or wrong on any of that?
Yes, yeah. I will not be that subject matter expert, but yes, that cotton machine has quite a few more parts on it. So yeah, it's you look at that little cotton ball that's down in Mississippi or Arizona or wherever, and it's a delicate piece of fabric. It's a delicate piece of crop. So that it takes a lot of care to get it off that stock and into the machine. So I want to say that maybe that number could double in regards to the cotton
Wow.
machine, but I don't hold me to that. But yeah, it's you know, both harvesting machines. There you just don't turn the key on and say, "Hey, I'm going to go harvest some cotton or harvest some grass seed or corn or beans or whatever." So it's a delicate operation that is the livelihood of our customers.
So one of the other things that I heard you say, Curt, was
Mhm.
you as a logistics manager needed to get parts in when the combines were being built or at Harvester Works.
Mhm.
Did you also
Mhm.
have to manage replacement parts going out to dealerships? Because as a kid who got sent on parts runs, somebody had to make sure it was at the local dealership when I got there, right?
That's right. Yeah. So, yeah, we took care of the service parts as well. That's something that, depending on the factory, I can speak for one main factory with Harvester Works, but we moved out a lot of service parts to our parts distribution centers, or my group would get involved if we had a machine down in wherever in North America. We had to make sure that that part got to that dealership and to that customer in a timely manner. So we took care of that as well. And that in where it gets really interesting is as we go through the transition from a high robust year where you're putting machines out in the fields right and left, and then all of a sudden markets might take a hit and service parts become a little bit more a responsibility to us. They're always a responsibility to Deere, the service parts, but when you have where you're possibly not producing as many machines or selling as many machines as possible, that service part responsibility increases tenfold, and I think that's what helps John Deere become that leader is our responsibility in getting that part to the distribution center, so the final user can get that machine out in the field or whatever. So yeah, it's
I think I can tell you that
and go ahead.
I was just going to say parts and service matter so incredibly much when you are
Oh,
at the
big
field
time.
level waiting
Hmm.
for these items. All right, we are at the bottom of the hour, Curt. Don't go anywhere. I have
Okay.
a list of questions for you, as do probably more of our listeners as well as Dean. Again, with questions, you can call us at 701 293 9000. We'll return and continue our conversation with Curt Yeater as soon as we get back. Welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. Today's guest is Curt Yeater, and Curt is joining us from Illinois, if I'm not mistaken, and he is retired from John Deere, where he worked as a manager with logistics and hazardous materials. Curt, a question for you at Harvester Works. Now, if you had a new machine that a farmer was picking up, were you involved in the logistics of those, or was your primary focus getting them on trucks and getting them shipped up to dealerships where a farmer would pick them up?
So we had what they call a will call, where the dealer could use their own equipment to pick up the machine, or a customer, if they had that type of fleet, they could come get the machine on behalf of the dealer. But we also use commercial carriers as well, and I got involved with that a little bit. Most of my responsibility was the inbound direct material and indirect material into the factory. I will say that prior to my responsibilities at John Deere Harvester Works, I was at the corporate level for logistics, and was involved with both inbound and what we call outbound finished good shipments, getting that network developed and maintaining a carrier base that could take on our responsibilities on a daily basis. So.
And Curt, we had a emailer send in this question asking how was recycling improved with a company like John Deere to kind of lessen the hazardous materials?
So recycling is a big thing for us. One of our day-to-day operation functions is recycling Mississippi River water, and we
What?
use Mississippi River water to paint our machines at John Deere Harvester Works in East Moline.
How does
So every day we bring water into the factory, and trust me, like I stated, my degree is an MBA in finance, so I can't speak to it efficiently, but I can tell you that the water that comes in from the river every day, I mean, we have tours, and everybody talks about our tours, and they talk about the paint system that we have. We basically can dip all of our big major parts in these tanks, and one of our key resources is water, and we recycle that water back into the river, and we have to pass EPA tests on an hourly basis or daily basis to get that water back into the river, and it is 100% cleaner than the time we bring it in to the time we discharge. It's 100% cleaner. So I mean, it passes all tests. So that recycling on it in itself is a very key cog in our wheel to make our machines green and yellow. But in regards to hazardous material, there again, it's going back into our environment. And what's John Deere? We're all about the land. We want to make sure that when we have material that has to be removed from our facilities, we make sure that we follow standards, and we make sure that we also go above and beyond that standard to improve that process. So it's I can say from one factory, we take it very serious, and it's something that we look at every hour of every day to make sure that we're meeting that standard. And I
So
would
if it
say,
wasn't for the
as our
Mississippi, your color might be different.
it sure could. I'd like to say no, it can't. But you can only get that green at our dealership, so there's some number to it in regards to our green and yellow. And the green means that it's harvest, and the green means that it's growing, and the yellow means that it's a harvest. So there's a theory behind our colors as well.
Oh, that is great to know.
I never
Oh,
knew that. That's
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah.
yeah, Curt, you're a
It's
wealth
been
of
like that.
information.
Well, some people say I should be a tour guide at Harvester, but I don't know if I could talk that well. But yeah, it's it's been that color scheme for as long as I know, and I've been around this area for 63 years. So the green and yellow has definitions and has meanings to it. So.
And Bridgette, if you ever get a chance, when I worked in Waterloo, Iowa, we were lucky enough to get a tour of the John Deere plant, and in Moline, it's just an amazing sight. It really is.
Yep. Yep.
So we've been lucky enough
I,
to interview Neil Dahlstrom, who's the archivist
Mhm.
for John Deere. And he also was just recently featured over the weekend. I watched Tractor Wars, which was done by Iowa PBS as a documentary about the tractor industry in general. And Neil has talked about the multitude of buildings that you can tour when you come into John Deere. So Harvester Works is just one, but so, Curt, if you got to choose, would you just be the tour guide at Harvester Works, or do you want to go learn about other functionalities within John Deere's system?
I'm going to stay where my bench strength is good, so I'll stay at Harvester. But yeah, I was part of the we're very strong into the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and I was
Hmm.
involved with that as well. We would bring in our special guests from around the world, and these young men and young women would take the tours of our factories. And my responsibility was to make sure that we gathered all the gifts that were at the factory. So to make sure it run well, I made sure that, and I would visit all the locations to make sure that the trucks showed up in time and all the gifts got into the van or into the truck secure. So when uh, this piece of equipment would follow the family home, they would make sure they have all our gifts for the child when they get home. But yeah, we have some amazing facilities. The one thing, like in the Quad Cities, where everything really started from, um,
Uh-huh.
we have many facilities or many land opportunities that we've given back to the cities. Like Blackhawk College is a community college, and a lot of the land we donated back to the colleges so that they could have room to grow. Western Illinois on the Illinois side has a campus in town. So we've had many buildings come and go, but it's got some great pride to it as well.
I tell you what, that Illinois, Iowa, Indiana area is so strong when it comes to farm equipment. Many may not know that International Harvester for years had their tractor works, et cetera, in the city of Chicago. And so the whole region is incredibly interesting from a tractor education and experience. And Curt, with your background in logistics, making sure that things got to where they needed to be, were you also involved in semis coming in to load up a new harvester and then making sure that all of the checks and inspection were done accurately for transport? And by that, I'm wondering what kind of things did you have to do? I see equipment going down the road, the wheels are off, the headers are off, or I should say the tires are off, the headers are off. What are some of the other things you have to do to get ready a new piece of equipment ready for transport?
Mhm. Right. So you got to make sure that fluids are drained. You got to make sure that you can have the minimal amount of diesel fuel or whatever it might be in that machine, so that that it can travel safely. You got to make sure that your oils. We go through a 40 or 100-step process after we take our machines. We take them on a test track at Harvester Works, and they are on that test track for 45 minutes to make sure that we have everything tightened down, everything ready to go for that customer. So when that dealer gets that machine, that it's passing that 100-point inspection, so that there's not going to be any challenges going down the road or when they get it to that dealership. We got to synchronize a lot of things as well. If they have bundles of parts and whatever accessories, we got to make sure that with the machines being so big, all these bundled parts and tires or tracks have to get to the dealership before the harvesting machine does, because they have to be on the ground ready, so that when the machine shows up, that they can unload the machine and put it right on those, have it ready to, accept the tracks or the tires at that dealership location. So many things have to synchronize before it leaves, and many things have to be met that, when we say that machine is ready, because we build all machines to order. We don't just build machines so a dealership can have inventory. We have farmers that come into our dealerships. They place those orders last September, October, November, even January, and then they have a due date of when they have to be at the dealership. So as long as it's not that cotton machine headed up in Fargo that might have took a wrong turn, but you know, uh, but we got to make sure that due dates and delivery dates are met. So a lot of things have to go into play.
Hey, Curt, what would you say? What's your favorite project that you've had to work on over the years?
Oh, wow. I made mention of the Make-A-Wish. I
Hmm.
think that's something that's been near and dear to my heart, to make sure that when the visitors come to see our factories, no matter where it is, that experience is something that will stay in their hearts and minds every day. I think that's been very special. 24 years of being a volunteer at the John Deere Classic has been great. Um, it lets me
Whoa,
know
whoa,
that
whoa,
I
whoa,
will
whoa,
never
whoa.
be
What's that? What's the
the
John Deere
John Deere
Classic?
Classic.
The golf tournament.
That's our PGA golf tournament
Yeah.
that we have in Silvis, Illinois.
Oh, and you're not
Yep.
going to be participating in that in your retirement years, Curt?
Well, no, I'm going to volunteer and make sure that the tournament is run well, but my golf game, no, not. In my mind, yes. In my mind, I think I could win it every year, but in reality, yeah, we'll just be a volunteer. So, um, you know, I've had things where we've done a mentorship and a job awareness program at Harvester Works that we got involved with, to make sure that our new hires that come into the John Deere world, they gain an understanding of what happens within supply management and logistics. Was part of that for quite a while. Um, just one project is every, like I mentioned early, no day or no hour was ever the same, and I think um, one project that was just the everyday process to make sure that our customers were taken care of. Um, that was a daily project that we made sure that our internal customer, the people at the assembly line, were getting their parts on time, that it would then benefit that customer to get their machine on time. So, I'm sure I have other projects that there's been many over the years, but I think those are some of the highlights.
So, Curt, as a logistics manager, and I don't know how many of these you can share, were there things that were supposed to happen that didn't, or funny instances that happened and you weren't expecting them?
You know, yeah, there's a lot of things we can and cannot say, but I mean, I'm an open book for most of it. But I would say that, you know, the there again, when you've got parts that are coming from North Dakota, I mean, we have our own
Hmm.
factory in North Dakota. We have supply bases all over North America. I mean, we had a semi that didn't cross from Canada into um, the United States because the driver quit. And
Oh,
if you've ever talked
oh,
to the Canadian Royal Mounted Police, or whatever they're called, they're not really polite people. I felt like it was quite the experience. I just always thought, when I go to Canada, I'll always be polite, because but that happens. I mean, accidents, like, you talk about the weather, and weather is a critical piece every hour of every day. And when you have situations like the blizzard or the whiteout effects, semis can't, or cars can't, when that road closes, you can't be on the road. So,
hmm.
when you've got just in time inventory levels, and you've got parts coming from North Dakota at a fabrication supplier, yeah, it makes life exciting. Um, I've had people ask me, hey, can I get a helicopter and land on an ocean vessel to pick up a cargo trailer or cargo box? It's like, no, but I mean, we'll try anything once, but I mean, yeah, it goes on and on. When you've got border situations like in Canada or Mexico, or there's political unrest at the borders, no matter where in the world, that can slow things down. You know,
Yeah.
when you have, here's one that's I first time I heard it, I said, no, you're kidding me. This is not true. But when we have the Rose Bowl, the parade, and you have all
Uh-huh.
those floats being made and all those flowers coming in, it's virtually impossible to get air freight from other countries, because of it's such a dynamic uh, product, meaning a flower, that if you
Mm-hmm.
needed something to fly from, let's say we have our gear cases come from Spain, but a lot of times you can't find an airplane to fly apart because it's filled with roses or filled with flowers to make these floats. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing what you will learn and what can delay you because of the produce or the product that's trying to be shipped. When COVID started, um, airlines were packed with automobile parts. GM took every air charter plane on the planet to get their parts. And we were trying to fly
Wow.
parts, from somewhere, and we couldn't find a plane because General Motors, had all the planes taken for that day. And so you have to wait. And you compare our business of John Deere, and we think we're great, we're big, and we are, but we're not as big as like a GM or a Ford with the amount of volumes of car parts that they are handling. So
Curt,
yeah,
these this has been so much fun to visit with you and ask these questions. I cannot say thank
I
you
haven't even
enough.
hit I haven't even hit all of it yet. I haven't done. I could go on for days. But
That's
yeah, it's
okay.
been great.
I can book you again.
Okay.
That's even
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm in retirement every day Saturday, so hate to say that to you
well,
people that
I
work
like the
every
way you
day,
think.
but
Okay.
yeah.
You're not wrong. You're going to have to come back and just tell us more stories because
Okay.
I'm loving all of these. But what
Yep.
you've done has really opened my eyes that as a kid standing at a counter in Wysocki, North Dakota, wondering why that bearing isn't there for a 4450 and my dad
Right.
wanted it, bigger than
Yep.
just what happened behind the counter that day. I get that
Right.
now.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining us today, Curt. We really
Oh,
appreciate
you
it.
bet. You bet. Thanks everyone, and all the listeners out there. Thank you for supporting John Deere. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Curt. Well, when we
All
come
right.
back,
You
we'll have
bet.
an update on our approaching. Do you want to call it a winter storm? It's spring. Our approaching spring storm. It sounds better that way. We'll have more details on
Sure.
that, and we'll hit some ag topics as well right after the break. And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus, 1:56 in the afternoon on this Wednesday, March 12th. We've got temperatures out there ranging from the 30s in the Northern Valley to the low 40s from the 94 corridor southward. And we'll top out today in the 40s. Some spots will come close to 50 degrees, but it gets even warmer over the next couple of days with temperatures close to 60 tomorrow and in the 60s on Friday. And, we might have our first rumble of thunder of the season as we head into Friday evening, but that's in the warm part of this developing storm because we get in on the cold side of that system Friday night where we'll see any rain change over to snow. And that snow is going to come down at a pretty good clip for about a 3-4 hour window as we head into Saturday morning. So if you have any travel plans Saturday in the valley or especially east into Lakes Country, keep up to date on the forecast because there will be some areas, and right now it's really highlighting areas around Lakes Country where we could have blizzard or near blizzard conditions as we're going to have winds gusting up to 50. And even if you get a couple inches of snow on the low end and you get 50-mile-an-hour winds whipping that around, it's going to be messy on Saturday morning before things improve by Saturday night. But again, just a good example in Otter Tail County. We were talking about it earlier. One part of the western part of the county, the European model, was printing out close to 9 inches of snow, and in the eastern part of the county, only 2 inches of snow. So that's how tightly packed this snow band is. So a little shift in the track of that storm over the next 24, 36 hours, it'll make a huge difference in where we might get an inch or less, or we might end up getting 6+. So we'll be fine-tuning the forecast as that storm system finally now just starting to enter California. And as it does, that's where we get better weather data, and we'll be able to hopefully kind of nail down more exact snowfall totals. But like I said, whether it's an inch, 2 inches, 6 inches, when you get the 50+ or 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts, it's going to be messy on Saturday. So that's one of the reasons, obviously, they postponed the St. Paddy's Day parade here in Fargo due to expected bad weather and high winds. So let's hope for better weather after this system passes by. You all for that, Bridgette?
I'll be okay with it. We're going to see what it looks like.
Awesome. Well, for Bridgette, myself, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Don't go anywhere. The #1 show now in the country, The Jay Thomas Show. That's coming up next.